The Scottish Government is in the process of developing some disgusting, degrading, degenerate, disturbing and dangerous sex education materials. They've set up a project called the Relationship, Sexual Health and Parenthood Forum. It's online and they're producing materials, lesson plans, videos, PowerPoint presentations, etc. to be used in schools. And the idea is that teachers use them and then feedback can be provided and they can just be tweaked to be perfected. In terms of feedback, I'll probably put this video and others on their website. I know what will happen. They won't say, this is an interesting alternative perspective. Let's invite this chap along to have an input to the process. They'll completely ignore it, but I'll put it on in any case. So who's running this? It's Education Scotland, Scotland's education agency. They basically control schools in Scotland. The NHS, councils, the third sector. That will involve the sort of children's charities, a lot of which are involved, for example, with calling for the smacking ban. It will include all the taxpayer-funded feminist organisations, all the taxpayer-funded LGBT groups. You can imagine the sort of people who are involved. Now, these educational materials are supplied for different stages. So it starts off with preschool, goes right the way through up to sixth form, and I'm going to go through them all in a series of videos. But I'm starting at the shallow end today with the early level, the preschool level, basically for 3 and 4-year-olds. Now, the Scottish Government recently has declared its project to double the amount of time 3 and 4-year-olds spend in nursery. The main reason for that is their ABM approach to childcare, by which I mean that they want anyone but mum looking after kids because of their feminist principles. But also another reason why they want to double the amount of time the kids are under state care is so they can get their message across more effectively. Now, if you look at what's included at this early stage, quite a bit of it is sensible stuff. There's not a huge amount of really sexual content at this stage, but we'll have a look at what there is there. I think some of it is not the way it ought to be. Now, you might say as you're watching this, I'm criticising this, you might say, well, what's your alternative? What would you do instead? What would the Scottish Family Party like to see? Well, I'll always state that after each case. In a lot of cases, the answer will be, well, just don't even touch this area, ignore it completely, just get on with trying to make the tallest tower you can out of the blocks in the nursery instead. Right, on to the first area. Now, the Thai campaign success recently, Scotland's world-leading LGBT inclusive education. We've seen that in guidelines from Education in Scotland as well. When is this to start? Preschool, right in the nursery. This agenda needs to be promoted. So let's start off by having a look at the lesson at all families are different. Some families are small. Okay, got a lady there with a nose piercing and a lip piercing. I mean, personally, I wouldn't want that to be sort of tacitly approved of in nursery. But anyway, moving on. Some families are big. Some families have a mum and a dad. Some families have 2 mums. Sometimes grandparents and parents too. I'm not sure of the grammar there, but anyway. Sometimes families have 2 dads. Sometimes families have 2 mums and 2 dads. Now, just to clarify what they're getting at there, this is something that Stonewall promotes, in particular the idea of co-parenting, where a gay couple and a lesbian couple sort of do a deal together, come to an arrangement whereby they produce a child between them, and the child is brought up between the 2 couples. They're sort of shared between the 2 households. And finally, in this class, all our families are different, unique, and special. Now, the justification for this sort of lesson is, what about the kid with 2 mums? How will they feel? We need to make them feel welcome and included. No matter how many lessons you do on diverse family forms, the kid with 2 mums is still going to realise that their family structure is unusual. They'll still realise that they haven't got a dad. Of course, they can still be treated perfectly well and included in everything that's going on. But these kids are getting used as, in a way, like a sort of human shield. In other words, we must endorse any and every family form, right up to co-parenting and beyond. Various multiple relationships will be coming in next. And we must endorse them all in order to support the kids. If we don't explicitly endorse them, somehow we're failing the kids. Is that really what this is all about? I don't think it is. Just imagine a little thought experiment. Imagine that there was no divorce, There were no alternative family forms. There were just married men and women bringing up children. And the only exception to that was where one or both parents had sadly died. Would they be having lessons on diverse family forms in order to make sure that the bereaved children felt included? No, they wouldn't. What this is really about is promoting the LGBT agenda, which is at this stage is about acceptance of everything by all. Now, my view is that single parenthood, lesbian and gay parents, co-parenting, they're not the ideal arrangement. But the nursery view is that single parenthood, lesbian, gay parents, co-parenting, they're all just great, and we should be celebrating this diversity of family forms. So Scottish Family Party, what would we like instead? Well, I think it'd be good for kids at this age to hear stories about boy meets girl, fall in love, get married, have children, live happily ever after. Because I think that's an ideal. It's not for everyone, it doesn't always work out, but a married mum and dad is best for kids, best for adults, best for wider society. And by presenting that as the norm, we're making a positive contribution to the future of our society. The bit about how the babies get made, can fill that in later. When it comes to a lesson on family forms, diverse family forms, what's the Scottish Family Party's policy? Just don't do it. Go and play in the sandpit for a bit longer instead. Okay, what have we got next? Well, they have a picture of a naked, just a sketch of a naked boy and a girl. They have to name the body parts. Let's see what we've got. Now, let's bear in mind this is relationship, sexual health, education, not general. So the reason this is here is to get in to teach them about penis, scrotum, vulva, etc. How many parents of 3 and 4-year-olds use those terms? I would suggest not many. They don't feel it's appropriate. And yet the nursery comes in as effectively saying, you know, we'll treat you as a bit more grown up. We'll tell you the real names for these things, not like your parents are doing. I think it's completely unnecessary, and most parents would not want this sort of teaching, so just don't do it. All right, what have we got next? I understand that everyone has different and special qualities. I know that there are parts of our body that are the same as others and parts that are different, such as colour of hair, eyes, skin, height, size, etc. I know that all of us have differences which make us unique. Right, key words, vocabulary. Celebration. So right from the very beginning, they're getting in this idea that you celebrate diversity. Now, I think diversity sometimes is a good thing, sometimes it's not such a good thing, and quite often it's an entirely neutral thing. But they're getting the message in here, celebrating diversity. Basically preparing them, doing the groundwork for the political philosophy of the SNP. Now, this is just a bit bizarre. Remember, this is for 3 and 4-year-olds. I know, understand, and can discuss some of a baby's basic needs, such as feeding, changing, washing, cuddling, and sleeping. I can demonstrate some basic skills needed to look after a baby. What? So what are they getting at here? I mean, I have to admit, it's quite hard to understand their thinking, but I would guess part of it is this will get the boys playing with dolls as well, and they're maybe thinking in the longer term it'll close the gap that there is currently, where it tends to be mums who are more involved in bringing up young children than dads. Maybe that's a long-term plan, but this just seems utterly bizarre. What would we want? Okay, have some dolls to play with and some baby stuff. If any of the kids want to play with them, that's fine. But this sort of lesson? No.
Hi friends, Fiona Felt here. Today we're meeting people who help us. Is that a siren I hear? Policewoman finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? Dr. Finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? Firefighter finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? Nurse finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? Lifeguard finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? Well, they are everyday heroes. Maybe you'll become a policewoman finger, doctor finger, firefighter finger, nurse finger, lifeguard finger. I love the people who help me.
I'll throw that in just as an example. There are lots and lots of other lessons with the same sort of themes. Girls can do anything. And then we've got the hopeless bloke with the silly hair who needs rescuing. Basically, they try and reverse the norm in every situation. If it's a job that's more often done by men, it'll be a woman. If it's more often done by women, it'll be a man. So they'll see it as combating gender stereotyping. I just see it as social engineering, but it'll mainly be delivered by an army of women who chose to be nursery teachers. I've thrown this one in again just as an illustration of the type of thing you come across throughout the material. Encourage group and one-to-one conversations about how it feels to be cared for and looked after. Right? Could you imagine that? I mean, this sort of soppy therapeutic navel gazing is routine throughout Scottish education. This explicit focus on feelings, and the implication of it is that everyone needs this sort of professional support, these sort of formal discussions in order to manage relationships and their own emotions. Now, I would rather the kids get on with the serious business of, for example, making cakes or whatever they're doing, and just deal with emotional things as they come up on a sort of ad hoc basis. But could you imagine a couple of boys, 3-year-olds, sitting up at nursery in their new football strips, right, sit down and talk to each other about how it feels to be cared for? Nice. I mean, the poor kids, I mean, it would be torture for them. Just let them go and do something instead of trying to impose this sort of adult therapeutic culture on them. See what you make of this. Personal space. Understanding personal space. Supports children's understand of how close they want other children to be. If the children line up, speak quietly to those who feel another child is too close. Find out their feelings in the moment. Help them express these to the person who is too close. Have similar quiet conversations with children when they sit together on the carpet or mat. Ask children questions. Would you like more space on the carpet? Who can help? Understanding personal space for children who need extra support, or for everyone. Some or many children might need extra help with this. Individually or with peers or in a large group, you could work with the child on what feels too close to him/her. Use a prop like a hula hoop to help visualize too close, close enough. Have fun practicing chatting about it. Right, first thing I'm going to say here is my experience with kids. If you give them a sofa or whatever to sit on, they squash up to each other to a huge extent because they're like that. They'll all be squeezed in together, and you're normally saying, come on, just space out a little bit. Anyway, if they're too close, if it's uncomfortable, the kids can just say, can you move over a bit? Or if another one's pushed away, they can say, oh, yeah, I've not got enough room here. But oh, no. It needs professional intervention and advice to solve these problems. Could you imagine the little 3-year-olds being taught to say, please may I ask you to move out of my personal space? And notice it's always someone else's fault. If you're sitting on the mat and people are too close to you, it's not that you've sat too close to the others are too close to you. So you've got this collection of kids all blaming the others and expecting the others to move out of the way for them. So it's encouraging a sort of victim mentality. You know, the social world's a jungle. You need our protection to deal with all these people who are mistreating you. So this should be a very simple issue. In fact, it's a non-issue. But this is implying you need the support of adults to manage this. So why on earth is this in the curriculum for relationships, sexual health, etc.? What they're getting at is they think they're laying the foundations about sexual consent, which is just completely ridiculous. There's nothing to do with it and doesn't have any bearing on that issue at all. So this whole issue, just forget it. And I think it just shows that the educational establishment is in a parallel universe to most parents. So to finish off, we're going to have a look through the recommended reading, the book list for the preschool children. Here we go. Your body belongs to you. In simple, reassuring language, the author explains that children can decline a friendly hug or kiss, even from someone they love, and still be friends. The text and illustrations remind children that their feelings count. positive and assertive approach. I would say that basically undermines families. Imagine the situation where you've got extended family there. Little kiddie is there, grandma's there, everyone's leaving, and someone says, oh, go and give grandma a kiss. And the kiddie said, no, I don't want to. And grandma goes, oh, go on. And everyone else says, oh, go on, give grandma a kiss. So the kid goes over and gives grandma a kiss. And everyone says, oh, that was nice. Well done. Grandma smiles. According to these people, that would be some sort of quasi-rape situation. That's an infringement of consent. Anyway, on we go. Right, the family book. The family book celebrates the love we feel for our families and all the different varieties they come in. Of course, needless to say. Right, next one. Do You Sing Twinkle? A story about remarriage and new family. Living apart from a parent can be hard to adjust to for a child, etc. It's about all that sort of thing. I would say that's really none of their business. I don't think nursery staff should be thinking, all right, this is what's going on in the kid's life, in their family, so it's our job to come in and give them a bit of advice on how to cope with that. No, that's family business. Just got on with nursery business. Right, next one. Mommy, Mama and Me. Rhythmic text and illustrations with universal appeal show a toddler spending the day with its mums. King and King. Once there lived a lovelorn prince whose mother decreed that he must marry by the end of the summer. So he began the search to find the prince's perfect match. And lo and behold, his name was Lee. A story about finding true love and living happily ever after. Any books about a man and woman meeting, getting married, living in happily ever after? No. What next? Clive as a nurse. What will Clive be today? Follow Clive and his friends as they explore many things a nurse does in a day. Free of gender stereotypes. Same old thing. Right, No Means No. No Means No is a children's picture book about an empowered little girl who has a very strong and clear voice in all issues, especially those related to her body and personal boundaries, teaching personal boundaries and consent. Next one. I'm a Girl. The girl in this book likes to win. She likes to be spontaneous, fast and strong. And because she also likes to dress in t-shirt and shorts, she's forever been mistaken for a boy. And when she meets a boy who likes wearing princess dresses and playing with dolls, they both quickly discover that they share interests that are wide and varied. I Am a Girl is a wonderful celebration of being who we are and not being pigeonholed or restricted by gender stereotypes. Girl in that situation, I think it would be reasonable to suggest, well, maybe if she wore more feminine clothes, there wouldn't be that confusion. But what this is doing is preparing the ground for the transgender ideology. That's endorsing this boy who likes to wear dresses. Cross-dressing, I say that's a negative thing. It's people heading down the road to transgenderism, which in life success terms is a disaster. Leads to all sorts of problems, but ideology comes first. Looking after these kids and their future comes second. Right, what next? This sounds a rip-roaring read. I'm Worried. Young children experience many confusing emotions in their early years. This book examines feeling worried in an amusing but reassuring way. Again, the same sort of navel-gazing, therapeutic, you need extra special help to manage your emotions. There's a big focus on emotions. Right, what's next? Share. Learning to share your favourite things with a baby brother or sister can be hard at first, but once you get used to it, it's so much fun. Same idea, the idea that when the nursery realise what's going on at home, they can step in and just give a bit of advice about how things should go. That's family business, sorting out relationships between siblings. Leave it to the family. Right, how about this one? Miles is the boss of his body. On his 6th birthday, Miles' excitement is dimmed when he finds himself being pinched, hugged too tight, picked up and tickled by his well-intentioned family, and decides he's had enough. When Miles decrees that he is the boss of his body, his whole family expresses support and respect for his personal boundaries. You couldn't make it up. There's a parallel universe. Right, next one. If you really enjoyed I'm Worried, you could read the sequel, I Feel Sad. This book examines feeling sad, but deals with it in an amusing and reassuring way. I'm sure it does. Sounds a bundle of fun. Right, what's next? Now we have a baby. There's a new baby in your family. Again, same sort of idea. Find out what's going on in your family, and the nursery's job is to provide family, to inject some wisdom into the family for them. So all these books can not just read about diggers and animals and things in the nursery. So to sum up, what have we had here? We've had some indoctrination into LGB philosophy, celebrating sexual diversity, all family forms are equally good. We've had a touch of transgender ideology promotion as well at the expense of children's well-being. Plenty of social engineering. Women can be firefighters, bus drivers, or implying that you would really like more women to be firefighters and bus drivers, regardless of what they actually want to do. Obsession on feelings. How are you feeling about your feelings today? You really probably need some counselling just to help you manage those. That's just routine and normal. We've had unnecessary teaching about genitals. And we've had this bizarre version of sexual consent teaching that's got nothing to do with sexual consent. So all that lot, drop the lot. We think the kids will be much happier in nursery, doing more interesting things. The world's full of fascinating things to learn about. Learn about some of those. When it comes to relationships, learn on the job. Make friends, squabble, and the staff can intervene and advise as necessary. Not routinely, not as part of the curriculum. And if there's a good few stories about boy and girl, fall in love, get married, have kids, live happily ever after, all to the good. So let's look at what's going on in nurseries. So there's not much explicitly sexual content in this section. But to see what's coming, stay tuned to learn about the older age groups. Right, do subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up to date with that. We're a political party, the Scottish Family Party. You can join via the link below. You can also make a donation to us. That'd be much appreciated. And thanks for watching.